The Entrepreneur's Library, episode 31.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Thank you for joining us on the EL. Today we have Nick Loper, author of Work Smarter. Welcome, Nick, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
Wade, thanks for having me.
Definitely. Will you take just a moment to introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about you personally?
Well, I'm Nick Loper. I'm the chief side hustler at sidehustlenation.com, where I get to experiment with a bunch of different, part-time business opportunities and angles, trying to make money outside of a traditional 9-to-5 job and help other people do the same. So I've been running that for a little over a year. It's been an absolute blast. And so if you're interested in trying to develop some job-free income streams of your own, come over and join me.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Now let's jump right into your book, Work Smarter, which was just made available for purchase on June 2nd of 2014. Nick, we're going to move fairly fast, but we're going to go through some of the top questions that our listeners/readers want to get answered. And the first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing Work Smarter?
Well, the inspiration for me is that, so this is a collection of tools, basically. It's not a book in the traditional sense. It's essentially one gigantic long list. There's more than 350 online tools and apps and software and stuff that's listed in the book. And the way this was curated was largely from the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast archives. You know how John asks at the end of his show, if you have an internet resource that you love during the lightning round. And so my original idea was to compile all of those into a blog post. It was going to be like, hey, I'm going to make this viral blog post. It's going to be awesome. And I was 5,000 words deep, 10,000 words deep. It's like, okay, this is much, much bigger than just a blog post. And so that's when it kind of turned into a book. But what I love about it is that joy of discovery of that new tool that's going to help you, save even just 5 minutes a day, or, maybe it's not even that much, but like just reduces your mental clutter or just streamlines some process. For me, just a couple in the past year that come to mind. One was like this text expander app for Chrome. I feel like such a productivity ninja when my little, self-directed shortcuts fire off, and it's awesome. Another one that I've used for scheduling, podcast interviews, we probably used it to set up this call, is Schedule Once, which is something I never heard of before a little over a year ago. So it's stuff like that, and that's what the book aims to do, is kind of promote that joy of discovery to everybody, because I guarantee you there's something in there that you've never heard of that can help you out.
Great. So you've already alluded to answering some of this next question. That's what makes your book different from others regarding the same topic?
The difference is probably the breadth and the curation. So these are tools recommended by top entrepreneurs, and more than 500 people submitted contributions to the book. So kind of in the breadth of the topic and then the quality of the people recommending them.
Excellent. So this next question is really, how would you suggest the reader engage with your book? Is this a book where they should read from beginning to end straight through like they would a story, or is this something that they should kind of cherry pick based on their current need?
Well, it's definitely not something that's going to be the most compelling page turner, to read top to bottom. So what I would recommend, if there's a particular area of your business that you're interested in streamlining or looking for resources on, you could skip to that section. There's, I think there's 20 different categories ranging from accounting to, calendar management, like we talked about, email tools, entertainment, marketing resources, social media stuff, productivity hacks, travel resources, all sorts of different stuff in there. So definitely feel free to jump around as needed.
Okay, excellent. And Nick, this is my favorite part of the interview, where basically I'm just going to let you have the mic completely to yourself and give us a great summary or review. And I understand that your book's a little bit different than others that we have here on the show. And so it might just be you sharing a couple of the different resources that you find most valuable. But really, it's up to you on how you want to actually take us through it. But what we're trying to do is give the listener right now and the future reader of your book a great idea of what it's all about.
So the main idea behind this, and why somebody would want to invest the time and money to purchase it and read it, would be to to essentially save yourself time. I'm going to put in a little bit of investment up front in discovering all of these tools. and maybe finding a handful that I can implement in my life, in my business. And so there's not, I don't know. It's not something that you're likely to, keep on your shelf and read over and over again. You might refer to different sections to say, hey, oh, I was looking for, or email is really frustrating me. What do people recommend to deal with email? And so a couple of tools that I've been using is actually one that I used extensively during the book launch. It was called Streak. It's a free Gmail plugin that allowed me to schedule out emails to be sent later. And so this was part of my marketing outreach campaign, was to set up a bunch of individual personalized emails. I had almost 400 in my outbox, in my drafts folder, to go out on Monday morning when I was launching this thing, and they were all set up in Streak, and they all went off without a hitch. I was pretty impressed because I never used it on that scale before. And you'll find stuff like Reportive is another popular one for email. And stuff like that. One of the ones that got a couple recommendations is followup.cc. I don't know if that's something that you use.
I have not.
So I guess the idea behind that is, it kind of goes back to the getting things done that we were talking about before the show. It's like, I don't want to have this cluttering up my inbox, cluttering up my brain, but now is not the best time to reply to this message. So I can send a note to 2 days at followup CC, and it's going to shoot that thing back into my inbox, after those 2 days. It's like it kind of cleared it out for the moment, and then it's going to recycle when there's a better time to take a look at it. And I actually use a free version that's in beta called Nudge Mail versus paying for followup.cc.
Okay, excellent. So basically the subtitle is 350 plus online resources today's top entrepreneurs use to increase productivity and achieve their goals. So that's and this leads into my next question. It's probably one of the most difficult that we have in the interview. And that's, if the reader could only take away one concept, principle, or action item out of your entire book, what would you want that to be? And with you, we'll kind of switch it up to, if there was only one resource that you could suggest out of your entire book, what would you choose?
My one resource. Oh my gosh, that is definitely a challenge. I'm gonna percolate on that for a minute, but I guess the biggest takeaway, and this is something that is kind of a folksy story from like when I was in elementary school trying to work on my homework, and my dad would refuse to help me until I sharpened my pencil. He's like, you can't do anything with that dull, blunt thing. And so it was like his gentle way of saying, right, like the tools you work with matter. And so that's kind of the idea behind the book, that you can, maybe you can make your life easier by sharpening that pencil and using some of these tools. I use so many of these. I mean, there's like you said, 350 different ones in here. Schedule Once is a favorite. It's kind of boring, but Gmail, I would probably be lost without Gmail.
Schedule Once was a game changer for me, and I think that it was kind of funny because when I was asking you for the interview, you sent it back to me, and that was kind of my next step was to send you my Schedule Once. But what a amazing tool, because before I was really going back and forth with authors, on scheduling. Well, what are you doing Monday at this time and this time? What are you doing Tuesday at this time? And this? It was really a kind of tedious.
It eliminates all that like 6 email back and forth to just set up a meeting.
Yeah, I could have said it better. That's exactly what it did. And with more time, it gave me more opportunity to reach out to more authors. So yeah, I appreciate that tool.
I combine it along with the text expander app. So I just type MC and then asterisk, and it types in, my calendar is here, and sends a link, and says pick a couple times, and we'll make it happen.
Now, the next question, Nick, might not make sense for a book like yours that's based on resources and on productivity. But do you? And we'll kind of switch it up if we need to. But one, do you have a favorite quote from your book? And if not, because it is a resource book, maybe you can pinpoint a resource that your audience seems to resonate with the most.
Well, I was really surprised with the ones that kind of rose to the top. A couple ones I'd never even heard of. Asana is a team management or project management software that's all online. I think it's free for up to 15 members of your team. So like pretty much any small business that's just getting started out can use this software for free. Had never really heard of that, and that was one of the most popular answers in the whole study. Another one that was a newcomer to me was PicMonkey. It's a picture. It's an online editing software. It's like, if you don't want to be bothered with Photoshop, you can use their like super easy kind of drag and drop graphical interface to make some cool shareable images for social media. What else? Another one I've been testing out using is Buffer, actually for social media, and actually testing out Hootsuite. This week is a little bit more robust than Buffer, but trying to schedule out some social media sharing. So, I'm kind of going through all these tools as well and saying like, okay, I should maybe test this one out and see how that can work.
So your book has incredible value with giving different productivity hack, or I know these resources to me are kind of productivity hacks, ways that you can become more productive, I guess. What's another book you could recommend that had a huge impact for you, whether it created a paradigm shift or it helped you be more productive, whatever you choose?
One of the, this was probably the earliest, business book that I read. My roommate turned me on to this. He said, you got to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And we were, probably sophomores in college at this point. And I think that really kind of started down the path of, like, say what you will about, Mr. Kiyosaki and whether or not this whole thing is a myth and whether Rich Dad really existed or not. But it was a really interesting read, talking about, investing for cash flow, buying assets instead of buying stuff, and so that really hit home, and trying to implement that, over the last, 10 or 15 years since then.
Okay, excellent. Well, Nick, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to get more information on you and your book, Work Smarter?
For the book, if you go to worksmarter.co, that'll send you to the Amazon page. And since you're on a podcast, I do have a podcast of my own. It's called The Side Hustle Show. And again, it's focused on the idea of part-time business, part-time entrepreneurship, business ideas, and making money outside of your day job. And so if that is interesting to you, just look up Side Hustle in iTunes. You should be able to find it there, or check me out at sidehustlenation.com.
I looked it up just while we were talking about the book, and you have a ton of episodes, and it looks like it's extremely popular. So I think it's a great resource for them to go check out.
It's been a ton of fun. I can't be thankful enough for anyone who chooses to tune in.
Absolutely. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on today and taking us through your book.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for listening in today. If there is a book you would love to hear reviewed by the author, please visit us on iTunes and leave us a review with the book title. If you would like to get your hands on Work Smarter or any of the other resources mentioned by Nick, just look at the show notes at the elpodcast.com.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.